Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge, Brains. You know where you are. You are at the spot right here where the conversation is pointed and the guests are sharp and the responses are never dull. Today, our guest is Jerilyn Ito from Hawaii. I was just talking to you in the green room about time and money. They're really both an illusion. They're really, I think they're kind of fake. You know, when I read my Bible, it says that people live to be 700 years old. Now you're lucky sometimes if you can get to 70, 17 in some situations. And money. We were talking about the price of properties. $500,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. But then I think back to the time when I purchased our home, and I thought that was an astronomical number too. And inflation, it's crazy. And you're there in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Wow. Everybody's coming to Hawaii. Your governors ask us to stay away. But all of my friends are, I'm going to Hawaii. Are things opening back up? Because a lot of my friends went and said that, you might get a karaoke bar, but the rental car places, hotels, the luau's, the trips to the volcanoes, all those things that I want to do again are closed down. Are they opening back up?
Actually, yes, it has opened back up. As for the rental car, yes, I heard there's a lot of issues with that, but then it has also opened up opportunities for other people to rent their own cars. So there are a lot of possibilities up here, but it seems to be much more normal now. They have opened things up. It's just a lot of safety measures they put into place.
Well, you're a nurse. You're transitioning into a different. You're up leveling, as I say. You're moving into a different. But a lot of COVID. Was there a lot of people there suffering with COVID there, or were the Hawaiian people overly cautious?
It's both. There is a lot of COVID cases here, and because we have limited hospitals with limited beds, they are cautious because of that. Because otherwise we would have an overflow, say, into the ER, and we wouldn't want that. But it's been really, really good though. It's been really good. And most people stay out of the hospital. So that is
so they're doing what they're supposed to do. And whatever that is. If you don't take the shot, wear a mask. How are the kids adjusting to school?
It depends which school you go to. I think a lot of more of the private schools have adjusted pretty well. The public system, it's been kind of challenging, especially in the past couple of months with the increase of cases. So that hasn't been easy. But otherwise, like for my own daughter, she's been adjusting really well, and the school takes a lot of precautions.
Good. Because it's their mental health. It's not just their physical health, it's their mental health. They don't want to be at home all the time. They want to be with their friends, even though if they hated school. Kids that hated school, now they are like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back. It's just driving me crazy. I got more chores, I got more responsibility. So tell my brains a little bit more about you, Jerilyn, and how you show up in the world as a beautiful Chinese woman.
Thank you. Well, I am a divorced
mother.
Oh,
and by the way, Gong Hei Fa Choi.
Oh, yes, it's coming up. Gong Hei Fa Choi. Yes, very much. It's on February 1st, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. We're excited for that. But so I'm a divorced mother too. I have one adult son and a daughter who would be graduating from high school, which I'm very proud that is happening for her. And they have seen my journey through this for quite some years, beginning back when I was I was married for about 15 years. And then literally one morning, I woke up and I heard a message, and it was so clear, and it says, get a divorce.
What?
Yeah, I had never thought about it. It never came to my mind. I was like handling and functioning like a single mother, even though I was married.
Okay, wait. Let me dial back. Let me dial back a little bit. Okay, you were handling and functioning, but was
Mhm.
there discord in the marriage? I mean, were
There
you
was discord, but I just handled it
okay?
because it's part of it's my upbringing, Asian
Right.
influence.
That's what I want to ask you. Is it,
Mhm.
is it cultural? People get real touchy when I ask them about culture. It
Oh,
is
oh,
what it is, brains.
it is. It is.
There's Chinese people, black people, white people, Mexican people. We're
Mhm.
all brought up differently. And so for you to get a sense of where they're coming from and where they aspire to be, you have
Yes.
to understand the culture. And so when
Yes.
I talk about color and culture, if you're not mature enough to handle that, then some of these shows are not for you. Because I go in and I go in hard. And it's not to be disrespectful. It's,
No.
it's to raise your level of awareness. Because I was Chinese in a previous life. But girl, I had to tell you about that. Yeah, I did. I had a out of body
Wow.
experience. I was Mongolian. I
Oh,
sure was. And I went to China. And when I went to China, I went to the Forbidden City. And Jerilyn, my feet never touched the ground. They
wow.
never touch the ground. So I understand. I've observed it. So anyway, I'm sorry. Back to you.
No, I understand with the Chinese culture, and I feel that also was a part of not just the upbringing, but that generations back is what affects me, even though it wasn't directly linked. Because I remember my great grandmother having those bound feet. So you know about
Mm,
the history of the bound feet of Chinese women.
really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so when I went through someone who was helping me through all of this and opening up, she actually saw that and I didn't tell her about it. And she never heard of it, about my grandmother and how that it has affected me. I just remember her sitting in a chair with these tiny bound feet where she had to live in a small sewing room. And it was very painful for her to walk places. So she just mostly sat. So it was something to experience, and I feel that of course passed down to generations to me. It may not be in the same type of upbringing, but that always hangs with you. It's in your DNA, it's in your genes, it's in
It's,
your
it's epigenetics
mm-hmm.
and it's generational trauma. But let me
Correct.
ask a quick. Will you explain to my brains that don't know, what is the purpose and why were the women's feet bound?
The history says it's because they thought it looked pretty, having bound feet. All I remember seeing is this small little shoe and skin coming out from over the shoe because it had to grow somewhere, the foot. But the other thing I was hearing in history is because they didn't want the women to run away. So when you think about it, it was so painful to walk that they couldn't run away, walk away from their husbands eventually, when they got married. So that is the two things that stuck out in my mind on the history of the bound feet of those women.
And also, Asian women, from what I have observed,
Mhm.
are very subdued. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about, that's dishonor.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
disrespectful. You're not heard. And
Mhm.
that can be also too because of, communist regime. But I'm gonna tell you, when I was in China, it was law and order. It wasn't no problem.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
driver would drive down the street and people would bonk the horn. And other people would wave and they would smile. And I asked him, I said, what is up with that? Because he said the reason that they do that is honor and respect because you have avoided a conflict. You did not
Mm.
hit my bicycle. You did not run over my
Wow.
duck. You did
Mhm.
not, maybe you were distracted. They acknowledge you. And so now when people bump the horn, I thank them and wave because I learned something. You avoided a conflict. And a
Mhm.
lot of people talk about communism.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
get it. Americans, you better pay attention to what's going on in history and what's happening in history because we're moving in a different direction as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you live there in Hawaii, which is very laid back. kind of like California. There is a large Asian population in Hawaii,
Yes.
Japanese and Chinese.
And Filipinos, as well as a lot other ethnicities. And there's a lot of Asian influence in the way we live and in our culture here in Hawaii.
How does that blend with the native Hawaiians and the Samoans that are there as well?
It actually blends pretty well because in some ways their culture is pretty like close, and you respect and honor. They have that in their sort of culture too. So it does match. And
Good.
it goes back in history a lot, where a lot of the Asians they married the Hawaiians. So you have a lot of like Chinese Hawaiian people, or a lot of Hawaiian people with a lot of mixed Asian heritage inside of them.
I bet the food is delicious.
Oh, we love our food here and we love our potlucks. So with all of this happening, we miss our potlucks. We really do. Yeah, we bring a lot of food and there's always so much. We bring more than enough because everybody always takes home.
Now, have you ever considered leaving the island?
No, I have lived here actually my entire life. I haven't lived anywhere else. And I actually don't see myself living anywhere else. I love it here. I settled down. I just bought myself a new house this past year.
Ooh.
So yes, it was a dream of mine to finally get out of the house that I had bought with my ex-husband. I had been there for 22 years and wanted to really have something not connected to him anymore. And I was finally able to do that.
So now you're freeing yourself on so many levels.
Yes.
Tell us about your transition from traditional nursing into what you're about to do now with Echoteric.
Yeah. So I have been a nurse for 32 years.
Forgive me.
Yes. Echoteric, yes. I had been a nurse for 32 years. Some of that time was in the hospital setting, and some of it was in a federal government agency, which is the one I just left. But most of my experience as a nurse is actually administrative. I spent a few years doing direct patient care in the beginning, but then because I had hurt my back moving patients, and I had like back issues and was out of work for a while, I decided it is better to find some sort of more administrative office job so I don't hurt myself again.
Thank you so much, because I took care of my mother, and then lifting and turning and bending.
It's not easy. Yeah, it's very hard on the body. And when you try to do it yourself, or it gets to a situation where I had to do it myself, where I was transferring a patient from a wheelchair to a bed by myself, and she was large, and I'm quite petite. Something went in my back, so that went me out. And because my mom was concerned that it could happen again because I'm petite, I decided to look for another job, and I did. So it was basically they called it utilization review. So basically reviewing the resources of the hospital and ensuring that the patient's stay wasn't too long in the hospital. I was the people who were telling the doctors, you need to get them out.
Right. Or on the flip side, they need to stay a little longer.
Yes. But we did it according to clinical reviews. We viewed it clinically to see if they needed to remain in there, or if it because more for they just wanted to stay longer and get some things done, like some tests.
I know. Get some relax and get some get some room service. I did after I had my daughter, I was like, can I stay here just a couple more days? I gotta get used to this feeding thing. I gotta get used to this, Now you're into really something more holistic and spiritual, because you've seen that side. You've seen the clinical side. You've seen the traditional medicine. You've seen the pluses and the minuses. And so now you're really working with more intuitive type things, more being more empathic, helping people find themselves. And you're also the creator of these candles. Now I know, let me see, I got to put it up here. There you go. Whoa, let's turn this baby around. You know, these cameras get you confused. I want to hear all about it.
So, so yes, while I was working as a nurse, I was also doing this on the side. After my divorce, I went to go see a psychic because I was having some challenges getting through it. And at that time, the psychic told me that I had intuitive gifts. And I did not realize that. So I continued my learning, where I learned some channeling. I learned some, I became an Usui Reiki master. I did soul realignment. Along the way, I discovered all of a sudden I could see apparitions of spirits. I could feel spirits.
Wow.
So I went through the whole gamut of feeling and knowing everything. Yeah, the spirit thing was something else. And now I know why I don't like to go to certain areas on this island.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. Because of the like there's Hawaiian warrior battlegrounds in this, island on different islands.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that's where I was feeling it, where they had the battles.
Wow.
So yeah, the unsettled spirits. So I went.
So it's the same thing. Like I said, when I went to the Forbidden City, I looked in the window and I was like, okay, now was I an empress or was I a concubine?
Yeah, yeah.
You feel these spirits, and people are afraid of that. Now, I understand what you're saying. You steer away from that. There's good spirits, but when you're channeling them, until just like a person on the street, until they introduce themselves and you feel the intention, you don't know. And so when you work with your clients and these things show up,
yeah, I have done. Yeah, when I was doing Reiki before with the client, I literally saw an apparition standing next to me when I was working on her.
Oh wow!
So that is something though I feel was part of my journey to where I am now. To get that connection, to understand that part of it of spirits, because as we are all like spirit, but as we're alive, we're a soul. And so along with my journey, I then discovered soul work, because I had, it's just that I felt as though I needed to go deeper, like connecting with spirits, doing intuitive reading, doing Reiki, healing people was not enough, because people kept coming to me. They kept coming for healing. They kept coming to find out what was going on. But yet I noticed there wasn't a change in them. It was just, and I didn't want them to rely on me. I didn't want to enable, because I saw that as a nurse. I saw how as a nurse you can enable patients, and that's why they continue to be sick.
That's why they continue to stay at the hospital.
Well, there are people where they don't want to, or don't know how to move forward in just taking care of themselves. And then in this process, I learned we never really learned about ourselves first. When we think about when we're growing up from a baby, we learn everything outside of ourselves. We learn from other people, we learn other knowledge. We don't really learn about who we are. It's like we try on all these coats, these clothes, in order to find out who we are as a person. And so, yes, we go through life and we know who we are, but not at that deep level, which is why we go to counseling, we go to intuitives, we go for healing, because we keep feeling that there's something deeper in us that's missing. And so that is why I discovered Echoteric, the soul work.
Okay, so it can be a lot of fun too.
Oh, yeah.
So there's things that you uncover about others, but you also keep discovering things about yourself.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
What are some of the revelations that you've had about yourself outside of, wanting to change your career and change your marital status and change your residence? What else internally have you learned about yourself, Miss Ito?
Well, I discovered that, for one thing, this gift, that I am empathic, that I could always feel people and be sensitive. I would always be teased, or it was looked down upon that I was so sensitive. That sensitivity was me feeling the energy of other people. I could feel them. I could feel other people's emotions and take the emotions on as if it was my own. So I couldn't disconnect it. I felt it was intertwined in me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's why it's like when that happens, it's like I could take, that's how I would take on other people's personalities as of my own until I discovered my own personality.
Oh,
And so
wow.
that's what had evolved. That's what happens when you feel so much of of other people. It can happen. You think it's you, but it's not really you.
Sounds like another guest I had. Do you know that this woman told me she had 21 different personalities?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I told her it's hard to keep up.
Mhm. Yeah.
Empathic people are needed in this world, but it's a
Yeah.
heavy load.
It is. Yes.
It's a heavy load because you can feel, I mean, you can be in the grocery store and
Mm-hmm.
feel someone's energy.
Yes.
Working with those individuals, do you also work with people to help them find their gift and give them direction on how to, really how to separate themselves from their gift, from the work that they do, and not take on other people's personalities? Do you help them with that as well?
Yes, that is what the work of Echoteric is finding their soul and who they are. So I have programs that range from 3 weeks to 8 weeks.
Mm,
And it's about finding that confidence. So when you find yourself, your soul, you also find your confidence. To me, confidence cannot be learned. We can learn skills. We can learn how to speak. We can learn what sort of body language to use to present ourselves to make it seem as if we're confident. And then hope down the line, when we do all of this, it will be ingrained in us. But the confidence I'm speaking about is the calm confidence within ourselves, the one where we just feel so sure that it is us and that we speak confident. That kind of confidence where you turn heads. It's
right,
the one where you have a presence in,
right.
for your audience. That confidence they think is like out there and being charismatic and looking big, but is actually more very grounded and very calm.
Very
That
subdued. It's very
yes.
subdued. And that is a part of the Asian culture too. They don't have to be loud and boisterous to be
Mm-hmm,
effective.
mm-hmm,
And a
mm-hmm,
lot of people don't get that. It's quieting the monkey mind. It's learning
mm-hmm,
to listen. It's
mm-hmm,
learning to
mm-hmm.
be still. Because
Yeah.
in that still place is really where you and I have found um,
Yes.
to be the most powerful place. Because
Yes.
once you move from that, you don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to
Mm-hmm,
be assertive.
mm-hmm.
You don't
Yes.
have to be the loud mouth in the room. You can sit back, really, you can sit back and observe, and people
Yeah.
are more in tune to what you're thinking and wondering about what you're thinking than you always running your mouth, trying to be that person.
Yes.
And that, your soul is crying out. I work with an ego coach, and I
Ah.
learned a lot about that.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
how to manage my ego, how to love my ego, how to feed my ego, how to position my ego, but also how to give other individuals what they need. If they
Mm-hmm,
need attention and they want to be, the head of the group,
mm-hmm.
allow them that. You don't want that to be suppressed and then it abrupt.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got someone that comes to you that is like super angry. Where do you
Mhm.
begin?
Well, for one thing, if they're super angry, I would see if I would want to work with them in the first place because they would have to be very
Right.
open to the type of work I do. Um,
Well, they are now, but I say that because so many people are angry now for
oh,
what
absolutely.
for whatever reason.
Yes. And if they want to get over that, and that anger actually turns into anxiety. And
Mhm.
so the anxiety comes out more than the anger. And actually, those kind of people come to me a lot. I have noticed people with PTSD backgrounds and anxiety tend to be drawn to me. Um, and I work with them in finding that confidence, finding that grounded center in themselves. Because the healing that I do for people is not Reiki anymore, because I discovered I've evolved from that. I actually, just the presence of me, it calms people, it centers people,
Yeah, your
because we're
voice
always,
inflection. Your voice
yeah.
inflection and you being petite. You know, people are wondering how this small petite woman has so much power. We do.
It's all energy. It's all the energy that we feel in ourselves and that other people feel. And sometimes they don't even realize they're feeling it until they start calming down, and then they realize, and being brought into the present instead of into their mind so much, as you call the monkey mind,
Mhm.
not being so in the monkey minds and just being more present. So just working with me and my presence is just the start of it. Then I go through, I do guided meditations with them. So like every week I would do guided meditations. We work through what goes on in the situations in their life and work that through. But mostly my work, the foundation is around body intuition.
Mm.
So the body intuition, which I just got a registered trademark for it,
Mm.
is a process I created, and it's based around our five senses. So we really are not aware of the five senses that we use, because it's just, we're unconsciously using it. It's just part of us, it's part of our body. But when I tell people, well, look back when you were a baby, or think back when you see babies. Um, Babies have no known language. They can't speak, they have to learn it. So how are they taking all of this in? What do they have and born into this world with? Their five senses. So it's by all of that, that that's how they discover their own language. That is what and they're using their intuition. And the intuition, they're born with it. We're all born with intuition. We all have intuition. So the five senses and with the intuitive development, that's how we know what information to learn, besides how our body is created. You know.
You know, with all of that, I want to jump back to culture for a minute. I remember when I was in China and I went to the not the Forbidden City, the temple. I went to some of the temples, and there's no. We got our visa, and they said there's no prospertizing. I think it's called. You don't talk about God. You don't bring Bibles, and you know, no this yeah,
Oh,
that's what they told me.
oh, yes, yes, yes.
So we go on a boat trip, and on the boat trip, there are 30 African American people on this boat going into the city, and they started singing African American hymns,
Mm-hmm.
and it rang out over the water. You saw the water literally ripple. You saw the people's face, the traditional Chinese people's face soften because they're very subdued, they're very stoic. Uh, you saw this whole change. And as you talk about this, you talk a lot about energy, you talk a lot about spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into these temples and I saw how they gave a burn offering. And I saw how they meditated. And I saw how they um, gave themselves over to a higher calling.
Mm-hmm.
And it resembled spirituality and religion so much to me. But again, I was in a foreign country, girl, with a visa. I was scared to say anything. It's how people connect
Mm-hmm.
with source energy, with God. They do it in so many ways and so on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, what did you find growing up? Was there a sense of a religion, doctrine, or a spiritual connection growing up?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I didn't grow up with any particular religion, but I was exposed a lot to the Taoist,
Mhm.
because of my popo, or grandmother, where I would go to the temple a lot with her. And I was very close to my popo, and she would have us do things. So I knew of what we were supposed to do, but I didn't know why. I just knew we had to do it. And I remember the feel of it. It was pretty calming, especially when you burn the incense, and then when you met the monks, they're always so calm. I've never seen one get upset. So
No,
yeah.
and you don't hear them talk.
Mhm.
They say when you walk, I got
Mhm.
into tree hugging there as well too, as a
Ah,
meditation. But when
ah,
you walk, they say you move your feet as if you were kissing the earth.
mhm,
Barely,
mhm.
everything is so soft and so gentle.
Yeah,
It's an appreciation.
yes. And I feel as though it's not just appreciation of everything here and beyond, but it's also appreciation of themselves. Like they're so aware with their physical body, and they're so connected with their body and their own soul, which is why they appreciate everything around them. And that's why with my work, it's back to the appreciating of yourself,
Right.
going back to that. So then it then radiates out everywhere. And it is very true when they say when you change inside, everything outside changes. I have seen that happen where as I've changed over the years, my energy got more settled because I used to be very, very suppressed, very, didn't speak out. I wouldn't have even done something like this before.
Wow. Well,
you know
congratulations.
yes. So but because when it changed in me, like I would see when I was in the nurse, the coworkers around me change in the way they interact with me. It changes the way I make my decisions. It changed a whole lot of things that I did from before, less logical, more intuitive.
Right.
And that's what my work is about, living your soul confidence lifestyle, the intuitive lifestyle from your soul.
You're living with intention. And so I want
Mhm.
to talk about this. Your candles. Now
Yes.
you're not manufacturing these anymore, but this is soul intuition.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's got a beautiful, unique smell.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you start making candles? I understand the importance of the flame. It
Hmm.
really helps in meditation.
Hmm.
It is an ever burning light. But why did you start making candles, and what is the purpose of that?
Well, the purpose of the candles was for the meditations that I create in my program.
Mm,
And it was to support their evolvement. The flame of the candle, it's actually quite mesmerizing if you were to watch the candle
oh,
flame,
what girl? I
right?
do.
It's
I do.
quite mesmerizing. And so that helps draw you to the present, and then the smell. So I infuse essential oils in there,
Mhm.
and so the essential oils, it then is with your the sense of smell, and when you smell and how it feels in your body, or if it brings back memories, or if it, but mostly it brings calm to people. Some people say they feel like they want to fall asleep after they do
They
it.
do, but they're so relaxed.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
I've been into some meditations
Hmm.
where there's all kind of meditations, brains. There's walking meditations, there's silent meditations, there's chanting meditations, I even had a food meditation,
Hmm.
where mindful eating.
Yeah.
So don't necessarily think that you have to sit there, with your legs crossed and
Hmm.
have a certain ritual. All
Correct.
you need to do is connect with the breath,
Yes.
open your heart, know the soul, try to connect to the soul, and listen.
Yes.
Just throw everything out the window. That's why we say quiet the monkey mind. A
Yeah.
monkey is always doing chittering and chattering and always screeching and all that. Just try to
Uh-huh.
calm that for a few minutes, and you would be amazed at what would surface. Jerilyn, you are just really a calming source, and I thank you so much for the candles that you sent me,
Oh, you're
because
very
I
welcome.
am definitely going to utilize them. I didn't want to burn them until I actually had them with you, because I am a candle burner, and I am also one for incense and burn offering. So I send this up to you People say, why do you burn incense? Because this smoke carries your dreams, it carries your wishes to the highest level. So get you
Mhm.
some good non-chopper or whatever it is that you like to burn, and get to doing it, because it's cultural in many cultures, not just the Asian, but you'll see that in the Indian culture they do that a lot.
Mhm.
African
Mhm.
culture, they always send up a burn offering.
Yes.
So tell my brains how to get in contact with you if they want to do some deep diving, really find out who they are. And if you are angry, you approach her gently.
Well, we also have a program for vocal confidence too.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I teamed up with a friend of mine who does vocal development. So you have intuitive and vocal development for struggling speakers, entrepreneurs who want to have a presence on the stage. So, or
Oh,
as like this broadcasting. So I have that also. So to reach me, I'm on the web. The site is echoteric.com. It's ECHOTERIC.com.
well, brains, I want you to reach out. I want you to love. I want you to like. I want you to share. I want you to go in and subscribe to On the Edge with April Mahoney, because this is the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. And we love and we care about you. And we want just to calm it down. We just want to be gentle. We want to go back to being kind. You would be amazed at what you are going to uncover and discover about yourself and other people around you if you allow yourself to quiet that monkey mind. Thank you so much, Jerilyn. You are a
Thank
queen. I
you.
appreciate you. Namaste.